Hello, guys. I'm laughing. My guest is laughing. Do you know what? Okay, my name is Rusla Kuma. I'm coming to you live from New York State, and it is exactly 6 a.m. in New York State. And my guest is back in Kenya, and it's 2 p.m. So the effort we put into this, it's a lot. How has it been for you, dear?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, hi guys. I know I haven't been officially welcome, but we're just laughing at the fact that this has taken so much effort. First, we planned since last year, and we are here in the new year. Both, I think Kuma is on holidays. Kind of on holidays, but I have family, and then the timing. My kids are just having a nap right now. I'm just fingers crossed before they wake up, we get over with this video. But it's exciting.
Okay, so just if you're wondering, we have 8 hours between us. So she's 8 hours ahead. So I'm six and it's 2 p.m. back in Kenya. So this is how much effort we put in to bring you quality information. And we hope that you utilize the information and value it. Once more, my name is Priscilla Kuma. Welcome to my channel. I hope we made you laugh. I'm the lead consultant for USRN Pathway Consult. If you're a general nurse, midwife, or psychiatry nurse who wants to work in America, you want to take NCLEX, you don't know where to start from, just link up with us at www.usrnpathwayconsult.com consult.com and we'll walk you through the process. Thank you, all my new subscribers. Welcome home, settle down, take valid information, make this year your year of migration. Hi, Aunt Mercy, welcome to my channel, Gifted Mercy.
Hi, that was a good intro. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Wow, I know we've been planning this for since last year, almost a year, and we finally make it happen.
Finally. We are both very interested in making this happen, so we had to come here today.
Yes. So you come from Kenya originally. You migrated to Australia. You are an RN in Australia. Were you an RN back in Kenya?
Yeah, so thank you. I'm Kenyan born, and I was an RN in Kenya before I left. I'd worked for about 4 years, and then I moved to Australia and worked there for another 3 to 4 years. And then, yeah, I decided to come back home. It's indefinite, so I don't know. It's not permanent and it's not temporary at the moment. I'm in between there, but yeah.
Okay, so a little bit more introduction about yourself, your name, your story, your nursing journey. I know you are a YouTuber. If you haven't subscribed to her channel, it's the same name up there, Gifted Mercy. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Thank you. So my name officially on paper is Mercy Wanjiro. Kenyan born again. I am an RN by profession, trained here. I started at certificate level, went to a diploma. And the reason why I went to Australia is because I wanted to do my BSN in nursing. And my goal then was to become a registered midwife. And at the time when I was aspiring to be a registered midwife, we didn't have that coursework in Kenya. So it inspired me to look out there. That's how I started looking abroad, Canada, Australia. So I chose Australia basically because it was more affordable for me. And the process just seemed less tedious as compared to the other processes. So I worked there as a general nurse, and I also graduated in mental health practice. So I'm also a mental health practitioner. Since I already wanted at that time, and one of my goals was to retire at 30. I had my first baby at that first birthday, so I decided to come back to Kenya. Maybe take time, look after my kids, enjoy life, and then when my kids are much grown. That's why I'm in Kenya right now.
If I understand you correctly, you were a midwife and now you became a psychiatrist nurse. Were you a midwife back in Kenya?
Yeah, so the way it works in Kenya, when you get your registration in nursing, you get double registration. So you're trained both as a general nurse, and then it includes the midwifery in it. So I was already practicing as a midwife for 4 years with my diploma here. Within that time, remember, guys, when I started, I said I did certificate and diploma. At both levels, the midwifery study is involved. And when I get my registration as the Kenyan community health nurse, I am also a midwife. Only to find out when I went to Australia or when I was looking for the BSN, they don't train both coursework in their nursing degree. So if you do a BSN, you have to do a bachelor's in science nursing only, and then you can do a bachelor's in science midwifery. So there's a difference. When you go to Australia, it's not the same coursework arrangement as we have in Kenya. So even though I was a midwife in Kenya, when I got my registration in Australia, I was just a general registered nurse without the midwifery part.
Okay. Take me back a little bit to Kenya nursing educational system. If
Yeah.
somebody gets a diploma, is it 3 years? Is BSN 4 years? Is certificates, how many years is it?
Okay, so thank you. For the certificate, I did 2.5 years. And then for the diploma, because you're doing program now to be a diploma, I did months, which is approximately 2 years. However, if you go straight up to a diploma application, you're going to do 3.5 years. So I felt like it added up to the same, although I have 1 extra, like 2.5, 2 years, that's 4.5. The BSN is 4 years in the uni, and then you have 1 year of internship. The 9 certificate and the diploma, you don't have to do the 1 year internship after, because it has the practical part at the training. So when I finished my certificate in nursing, I went straight into the working force, which I loved. I wasn't very happy initially when I got the application for the certificate, because I had applied for the diploma. But you know how Africa is. I'm sorry to say, the corruption involved, people buy papers and stuff. So I didn't get a spot for the diploma. So I ended up settling for the certificate, even though I had done very well in my Form 4 level, which is what they use for you to apply school. Yeah, so I hope I've answered the question. 2.5 for the certificate, to approximately 2 years for the bridging if you're doing the diploma now. And then if you go direct for the BSN, it's 4 years.
Okay. Sorry, guys, the sound is very good, but picture is lagging a little bit. But I hope you can get anything. If you have any questions, you can always leave it in the box and we'll answer you. The sound is great. The picture is lagging. As I said, we have 8 hours between us, and a lot can happen between that 8 hours, the Wi-Fi and all the stuff. So
yeah.
So in going to Australia, how did you go to Australia? What means? Did you go through marriage? Did you go to visit? Did you go through an agency to be a nurse? What process did you take in ending up in Australia?
Okay, so my personal journey for the immigration, I did not use an agent. I applied directly to the school from a cyber cafe in Kenya. So I just was browsing, and then along my research for how to immigrate, a friend in Australia, and then he just told me, you know what, this is easy peasy. Let's just go to a cyber and I'm going to assist you to apply. So I sent my application to in Australia and Edith Cowan University in Australia. And then, yeah, I got my offer letter. And after that, I continued the process, as they always guide you, like they'll tell you what to do in every step. So, yeah, there are 2 options, individual application.
Wow. So you went there to study, and after school you remained.
The coursework is different. So I found out that I cannot do my BSN midwifery as I wanted, because again, for you to be a midwife in Australia, you have to be employed by a hospital first, then you apply to the uni. Bizarre. I was like, this is insane. How do I get an application at the hospital as a midwife? So it's like an apprenticeship kind of training. So you have the on-job training plus the university training. And I get why they do that. Look, they BSN does not include midwifery. So it's like you're doing a bridging. You know, the midwifery degree is actually 2 years for them, because they already did 4 years of nursing. Okay. And it was difficult for me because I was coming in as an overseas trained nurse. I have midwifery, but it's not recognized in Australia, degree in midwifery. So I applied for the general nursing log. When I landed, I had to do the BSN nursing, the general nursing. And then I got my registration as a general nurse. Then for me to go back to school for another 2 years so that I can get my registration as a midwife, I got tired. I'm like, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
I am tired of being in school. Like, look at these guys. I've been in school for 2 years and a half in Kenya, another 2 years, and then another 2 years in Australia. Like the BSN nursing for me in Australia was 1 year, but it's still like 1 year and something because you're an immigrant, you're trying to settle, you know. And for the midwifery, I didn't end up doing that. It felt like a lot of effort, and I looked at how it's going to benefit me as an RN, like the career progression. I was like, you know what? If I happen to go back to Kenya, I am still a registered nurse using my old registration, so I might as well study something that I can use in Kenya or from Kenya that does not take me too much time. So I went for the mental health, you know. That way I did feel like I have diversified myself when it comes to the career path, instead of just studying midwifery and I already have it in my profile, adding something new.
That makes sense, a lot of sense. So, in general, how many years have you been a nurse since you finished your very first nursing school?
Over 10 years.
Nice, that's impressive. So, in today, 2023, if somebody wants to go to Australia, what should they be doing? What's the process? I know these processes change over time, and if you did yours back in the day, things are not the same. But what are the methods for which a nurse can come and live and work in Australia as an overseas nurse?
Okay, so if you want to come in as an overseas nurse, I'll say your bare minimum training should be at diploma level. That means you can study up to a bachelor's of science degree, nursing or above, but then you can, like, if you want to enter properly at that overseas trained nurse title, please have a diploma, because it will only require you to have some form of training to match the Australian standard in nursing and the expectation for you to get the registration. So whichever country you're coming from, just make sure you have a diploma in nursing. Expect to study at least 12 months to 18 months. Okay, right now things have changed. My time it was 12 to 18, but now I know there's a new program that can even be 3 months, and then you get your registration. So based on if you have a Bachelor of Science nursing in your country and some years of experience in the clinical work. Okay, so prepare yourself to study 3 months to 2 years, and then get your registration in nursing, and you can start working.
Wow. So is there something like Australian NCLEX?
Yes, it's NCLEX actually, which gives you 12 weeks in the field for you to get orientation with the drugs and the work ethics, communication. They just give you basic training to enable you to blend into their healthcare system, because you know how we use the same antibiotics, but they'll come in different names, they'll come in different dosages when you are in a different country. And there's a different protocol for the same medication in your country and that other. So like in Australia, even just a simple antibiotic has to be given by 2 nurses, sometimes has to be supervised by a doctor, which we don't have that in Kenya. Like as a registered nurse in Kenya, I'm actually licensed and allowed to give antibiotics, injections, immunization, which is not the same. So when you get your orientation, you are also bringing yourself at that level. Yeah, like even with my children, when they were getting immunization, you have to have a doctor present for you to give immunization. I was like, that is very basic, but that's their protocol and we respect that.
So the 12 weeks orientation or preceptorship, are you paid a full-time salary, or is it just training with notes?
No, it's treated as though you went to a college or a university. So you are the one who will be paying school fees, some fees, and you just have to be placed in a hospital, and you also pay your registration fee. There's no way they will pay you, but you are allowed to work maybe 20 hours, the students' hours allowed.
So what is the name of the body of Australian nurses? If they want to start the application, which website should they go to submit all their documents for them to be evaluated and stuff like that?
Okay, so we have 2 organizations that govern the nursing fraternity. So you have APRA, the Australian Health Regulatory Body, agency in Australia, and then we have ANMAC. ANMAC is also an Australian Nursing and Midwifery Board that assesses the training and make sure we have the right paperwork. But then the APRA gives you the registration, and it keeps the records of all registered health professionals. That includes the doctors, the pharmacists, and the nurses, and occupational therapists. You know all of those ones, right? So they do the recording and the licensing. Then ANMAC will do the assessment for your work experience plus your paperwork.
Oh, okay. So you have to send your documents to both of them, or does AFRA send your documents to ANMAC?
Yeah, so you start by sending your documents to ANMAC, and then when you get your approval, you send that to APRA. However, if you go to school, by the time you're getting your last exam, you have your paperwork submitted to APRA by the school for you.
Okay. Okay. So if a nurse comes in there with a BSN and she does all the paperwork and she comes into Australia, she doesn't need any schooling apart from that 12 weeks orientation she's gonna get.
I called it orientation because I wanted to show you guys the difference between that and the 1 year or 2 years training. It's not just orientation, like you'll have paperwork, like you'll have a coursework to study. Okay. The difference is with this one, you can start application from your country. Like you can submit your papers, ANMAC and APRA, from your country and pay the fees. They will do the assessment before you even apply for your visa. And you know, if you go the student option, you have to be in Australia for you to study, right? I think that's a major difference that I find when it comes to NCLEX and the student stream option. Yeah, so you pay, you get assessed, they invite you to do the exam, they send you materials to study, but you have to go for the practicals. You have to be present in Australia because it has to be an Australian-based hospital. That is to the best of my knowledge. However, we can put links. I'll send you the links up, and then you can put them in the description section of the video. And then whoever is interested can click and get all the, the steps.
The application process, you can be doing it whilst you're outside Australia, but to get to a point where you come and do something like an OSCE, a practical, and you have to be physically present.
Yes.
And in getting the Australian visa, are there any struggles? Is there a way somebody will be denied even if they get to that point? Do you know much about that?
So when it comes to the Australian visa, from my experience based on how I transitioned, I've also sponsored my 2 brothers who joined me when I was there. One of them is still there, the other one came back to Kenya. So I have a little bit of experience applying for the visas because I didn't use an agent. I personally applied for the visas. Where I see it, if you meet all the requirements, like you have a valid offer letter from the organization, like a nursing body, or even doctors have their own registration. Say you have a valid offer letter, and you pay the valid fees that they're requiring you, and you do the examination. That's the medical, the biometrics, and everything that they need. You have enough evidence of how you're going to sustain yourself financially in Australia, and you also meet something they call the genuine entrant criteria. That is, they need to be convinced that you're not using this as a pathway to immigrate permanently again, which is very absurd. You know how we do. If you prove to the immigration that you only want to go and study and you're going to return to your resident country after your studies, I can guarantee you they will grant you the visa. So those are the main key points that you need to keep in your mind when you're applying or when your agent is applying. They have to make sure you meet all those criteria. There is a chance you're going to get, and if you get denied the first time, please do not give up. From experience again, apply again. Because they always give you a reason why they did not grant your visa.
Yeah.
So make sure you're meeting, like use that reason to see and reassess your application and then apply again. Because I had that with one of my brothers. The reason why they didn't grant him a visa is because I was already in Australia and established, and they felt that he's not meeting the genuine criteria, the genuine entrant criteria. Like he's coming, he's just using the immigration process to come and stay with me. So they denied him the visa. But they told us that in the response letter, and we addressed that by giving them all the evidence that they needed. And the second time, they granted him the visa.
So the category of visa they should be applying for is which one? The ones who want to come and do the OSCE, the clinicals, What category of visa should they be applying for, and which one is the permanent one?
It's still going to be the student visa, to be honest, because you can't get a permanent visa in Australia unless you're using the other subclasses. Like, okay, if you use a visa called skilled migrant visa. Skilled migrant, it means you don't have to be studying or even have a work placement in Australia. You can just come in as an individual. You go to the Australian immigration website, they have the occupations where they need, personnel. They invite persons to, like, engineers, doctors, nurses, teachers, that is the skilled migrant stream. So there's subclass 189. There's so many subclasses. In fact, it has, I think, 1,000 visa options in Australia to apply. It's too much, and it's hard to narrow it down. It depends with the individual option, the pathway that you choose. If you choose the student option, it's very easy. You don't get a permanent visa, you'll get a student visa. You make sure you finish your study. After you get your registration as a nurse in Australia, then you apply for the PR, which is the permanent resident visa. That will go based on your work experience, English, the registration, and you're going to be using the skilled migrant option now to permanently be in Australia.
So when a nurse comes to Australia, at the end of the day, they're going to get a permanent residency?
It's not guaranteed.
Okay.
It's not guaranteed again, but you have a very high chance of getting it because they are always needing nurses.
Okay. And at what point can you apply for citizenship? After how many years?
Citizenship, okay, so it's a whole different area and category, but this is how it works. This is the process that I followed, and I think this is what is on their website. You have to have had your permanent residency in Australia, which is now you guys call it permanent papers, for at least 4 years. So you must have, from the time that you get your PR, you must have finished 1 year before you apply for the citizenship. And then for you to qualify for the citizenship, you must have lived and stayed or worked in Australia or maintained good contact with Australia for 4 years. Even if you leave the country, it must not all add up for more than 1 year. It's 4 years, but it also has some other requirements underneath the 4 years. It's not as the green card. The green card is like guaranteed.
Yeah.
You're going to get the citizenship. So this, they put the condition 1, you must have had your PR for 1 year. Remember, you're coming from being a student, you get your PR, you stay for 1 year, and then you apply, and you can't even, now at that 1 year, you can't apply for the citizenship. You have to wait to live there for 4 years, which is coming to around 5 years in the UK, right? If you add the 1 year plus the 4, that is 5 years. However, during those 5 years, you must not have left the country for a period adding up to 12 months altogether. Okay. And then before you now put in the application, you must not have left the country for a period adding up to 3 months.
When people want to migrate, there are so many factors they consider. Number one, the process. How cumbersome is it? How much am I going to get paid? What type of visa am I going to get? Am I going to be a citizen? Because most of Africans who are migrating want to remain in the country or get the documents for that country. So yes, let's talk about, first, you mentioned English test in your past, and do they need IELTS to be able to qualify to work as a nurse in Australia?
Yes, you need the English test results before you can get a registration, and also before you can apply for the uni or rather any coursework in Australia. Prior to moving to Australia, you also need to have done at least an English test, and if you don't pass that test, 6 months of English studies at the college or the university. So the score that you need to get your self-registration, because you know how we have the English international test, that's IELTS. For 2 years, you have 2 years of valid score. You have to score at least 7 in all bands. That 7 is going to enable you, some university can accept 6.5 for the school. But then when you get to registration, it's not going to be acceptable because they need 7. And when you get to applying for the visa, like the permanent visa, if you do that with the 2 years, you're still going to do it again because they need you to have a 7. So I normally advise people, make sure you score a 7 just to make your life much easier.
When it comes to moving, people want to know what is in it for me. What do I stand to gain? So, in salary wise, when people want to relocate, they consider so many factors, and money, pay, salary is biggest on that chart. So, how much is an RN paid in Australia? A brand new RN, maybe it's the start off, or I know it depends on location, cost of living, but is there an estimate per month or per annum?
Information on the nursing salary can also be found on the, like if you Google, there's usually, I don't know about the US or the UK, but there's normally like the minimum.
A chart, yeah.
Yeah, there's a chart that tells every profession how much they should be paid. So if one can Google how much an RN earns in Australia, that chart will come up. But this is from my knowledge and from that chart. Brand new graduate from nursing in Australia, that nurse will have had either a BSN, get at least not than $25 per hour. So for the month, again, it's approximate, but look at it there. If you're being paid per hour, it depends with your roster and your availability, but normally you have to work a minimum of like 30 hours or 15 hours in a week. So you can make as much money as you want. If you exceed that, then you have to take a break. But if you multiply 100 times 225 per hour, you're looking at 2,500. Mm-hmm. And from my time in nursing, a newly graduated nurse would get at least $25. Some people will even get 21, but I think the minimum should be 25. Sometimes you can apply a lesser paying job, not for the money, but for the experience, because you're newly graduated, so you don't even have experience. And some people like to exploit that. I would say if I was in that position, I actually would apply for the job because I need the experience to apply for the next better job, So $25 an hour, and your minimum cap hours for work in a month. Is it a month? A fortnight? My fortnight. It was a fortnight. It's a multiply that by 25, you're getting 2,500 per fortnight. If you multiply it by 2, because in our countries we get paid per month, and in Australia usually is a week, a fortnight. There's no, I don't know of many salaries that many companies that will pay you per month. So you'll get at least 5,000. Yeah, this is a bit different from what I had said earlier because I used 100 hours for the month instead of the fortnight. Yeah, so you can see that's 5,000 Australian dollars before tax. And you get your 30% tax. So you can do 30% minus the 5,000. It looks like a lot of money. So it depends on the location, your living standards, where you're living, what you do with your money.
Exactly. I like the end. What you do with your money is what counts. Yeah. Who are doing agency nursing, travel nursing, is what you do with your money. You can be a staff nurse and still survive more than somebody who is traveling.
Yeah.
You have
you can be nursing. You can be anything in this world. It's not how much money you're getting, is what you do with your money after you get it.
Exactly, what you do with your money. So do you have like agency nursing, travel nursing, how America has?
Yes, we have all that. Travel nursing pays very well, just like in other countries. Hospital nursing is very basic, just like we have in our countries. Like if you're working at the hospital, you get the bare minimum, when it comes to payment. But then if you're traveling, of course, you get other allowances which raise your salary, like risk allowance, housing, like you have left your family, that's per diem, So you have agency nursing. I can tell you one thing for sure. I have never had like a full-time permanent job while in Australia. Wanted to work with the agency.
Wow.
One, because you get paid more than the nurse who is at the hospital. And then you get the flexibility to do how many hours, when you work for yourself per se, but then you have someone else representing you, right?
So I heard in your conversation twice that you moved back to Kenya. Your brother moved back to Kenya. How long did you stay in Australia, and what informed that decision to move back to Kenya temporarily?
Okay, thank you. as you said earlier, when you're immigrating to any country, it depends with what you're looking for. Sometimes I like, I'm familiar with how most of us, especially from African countries, we think and feel and find out that abroad is much better than our home country for different reasons. For me, one, when I went there, I was looking to study. I got that. I was looking for better pay as an RN. I got that. I was looking for quality of life. I was like in between. I don't think I got that. And I was looking for, good capital and options for me to invest and work smart instead of having to full-time work. So, and then I wanted to have a comprehensive family. Like, I don't know if this is gonna make sense. I didn't want to be a mom who is always working and never present. Those 5 reasons, I got 3, I didn't get 2, and the 2 are more important for me. That's why I moved back to Kenya. I wanted quality life. And quality, I mean in terms of financial, physical, mental, social, and that for me just clicked Kenya. Why? Even the food that I eat in Kenya is different from what I eat in Australia, and it's not expensive. How I'm able to be present for my children and my husband and for myself. I should have started with myself because it's me first and then everyone else becomes. It's different when I'm in Australia. How I'm able to invest and save money it's different from when I'm in Kenya. In Australia, I get a lot of money, then I end up spending almost all of it because I'm paying rent. There's so many bills that I do not have. Some of the bills are common, like I'll have rent in Kenya, food in Kenya, but there are things that are in Australia, hidden costs that are not in Kenya. Okay. So that hustle and bustle, is what I was running away from, or rather, I want to have a break from that. Enjoy family life, like with my children. Also, I wanted to culture my children. Remember how I said socially? I can't culture my children in a Kenyan way 100% if I'm permanently in Australia, because they're obviously going to be Australian. This is what we do in Kenya, but then on the ground, they do Australian ways. So which one do you think my children are going to get? Obviously, the Australian version. So my husband and I sat down and decided, you know what? Especially for the culture part, if we want that to be instilled in our children, we start the foundation in Kenya, and then we can build the Australian foundation or sociality when we move back there, when they're much grown, and then now they know the difference between what is Kenya and what is Australian, and they can choose for themselves they want to be living in Kenya or in Australia. But personally, my husband and I wanted to live and retire in Kenya. That's why we came back. For my brother, I think I can't speak for him. It's an individual decision, but he appears happy that he made that.
Wow. Wow. So we share migration content telling nurses to live, but the nurses travel. We always say and stress that abroad is not for everybody. It depends on what you want from it. And some people
Yeah.
put a timeline on it. As soon as they've achieved that 10-year, 20-year timeline, they move back home. And in raising children, it's very important they have the culture or else they'll be lost. They can always learn a foreign culture, but their home culture, they cannot speak the same language. The dialect will be different. The difference will be adulterated and all. So I told you personally back door, I respect your decision. I'm proud of you and I hope it works out for you. So, like, how long did you practice before moving back to Australia? How many years?
Thank you. So between the time I finished school and the time I moved back to Kenya, 5 years. 5 years in Australia. And then I moved back after 7 years. So the last 2 years of my stay in Australia, I had already retired. Like I wasn't working. I quit. I wasn't working full time. There's a difference. I keep saying this. Whenever I say I retire, people assume I'm not working. But retirement, if you're old, you still have to do some form of work for your brain, for you to have like a, enjoyable life, right? So I resigned all my jobs the first time after getting my baby, who is now 4 years. And then, yeah. So I was just home looking after my kids. And people were like, okay, how do you survive without going to work like that. Yeah, of course, there's government support, which you will get. That's the other thing that people who have families can, add to their list. You will get family support if you're a permanent resident or a citizen of Australia from the government. That is to cover your daily expenditures. It's not usually 100% covering, but you get some. However, as soon as you go back, you have to pay it directly back to them, like in terms of tax. You'll have to, like feel the difference for someone who has kids and someone who doesn't have kids.
So you retired at 30 years, if I heard you in the past.
Yeah, I haven't been like actively doing clinical nursing since I turned 30, and I'm 35. So this is 5 years now.
Wow.
Again.
So what is your plan for your nursing career in Kenya? Are you going to be practicing once a while, or are you just going to stay home and be a full-time mom raising your kids?
Okay, so at the moment, like even as soon as I retired, I do like 90% obviously is of my time is allocated to myself and my family. And others, again, you can do. I did even volunteer with Red Cross as a community educator, health community educator. So there's that part of me too that it's not just about me. So I also worked as a data analyst, things that I can do from home that are in the nursing career that does not require me to go away from my family. So when I worked as a medical data analyst, I would get reports from the company that had employed me, assess the data from home, and write reports for them to get government funding for their clients. So it's still in the health professional career. But here in Kenya, my dream is actually to set up my own hospital. So yeah, I will still practice, but from a point of being the entrepreneur instead of being employed.
I like that, and I respect your decision. I always told you it's a bold move. It's a bold move. I'm proud of you, and I hope that I will bring you up back on the channel to catch up with you, to see what you've been up to, how the kids are doing, how the family are doing.
Yeah, thank you.
I
Thank you.
believe the kids that were born there, if you deliver in Australia, the kids get automatic citizenship.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So one thing that I usually encourage everyone to do, and even I did for myself, before you immigrate back to your countries, please make sure you get the paperwork that is required for you to be a citizen in the home country that you are in. So when I got my citizenship, I also made sure that I gave birth to my kids while in Australia. They got, even if I got them from Kenya, they'll still get citizenship because I'm a citizen there, but I will have to do the paperwork differently from someone who was already delivering their kids in Australia. Gave it a priority. I thank God. I'm laughing because sometimes I can't believe myself, like things, the way I pray about it and the way God answered. I'm laughing because I planned my life in like bunches of 5 years. Maybe this is going to make more sense if I share. So I'll take you back a little bit. When I wanted to move to Australia, I was around 25 years. So I planned 5 years of I had already Australia, I'll study, make sure I get the citizenship within those 5 years. So 25 plus 5, I was 30, right? I decided I'm going to buy my first home when I'm 30 in Australia. So I did that. And the 31st year, I got married. I'm saying it's crazy because how things fall in place. Sometimes people think you're making it up. So I laugh at myself too. So I got married at 35, my 31st birthday. This is another block of 5 years. So I planned it. I'm going to have all my kids will be within the 5 years. And then within those 5 years, I'm still going to move to Kenya, right? If you're following my house, 31, I have my first pregnancy. I got married in January. I gave birth in the end of the year. My first child. The second child came when I was 32, 33. So the gap is like 2 years for the two. And then I was done with having children. And then I moved back to Kenya. So I'm still within my 5 years of goal since that to 35. Wanted to own a home in Kenya, started building that. That's where we are working at right now with my husband. And then the next 5 years now, from 35 to 40, is is to focus on family, raise my family. I'm going to likely go back to Australia because I want my kids to go into the education system in Australia. So when you talk to me again in my 40s, you're probably going to hear I'm back in Australia. So don't be surprised. I thank God because I am trusting Him and I know He's going to deliver all the desires of my heart.
Wow. Wow. I'm lost for words. Wow, prayers do work. Just find what you want to do, put your mind to it, stay focused. Don't look at what somebody else is doing.
Yeah.
Do it your own. I call myself, I'm in lane six. When you're driving lane one all the way to six, lane six, I'm taking my time, I'm doing my thing. I can reverse if I want, I can make a turn, I can do whatever. I'm not looking at those in lane one to five. I'm just very focused. All those who know me know I'm a very different person. My mindset
Yes.
is different. So I
Yes.
understand very well what you just shared. It takes an
Thank you.
open-minded person to understand. I've always told you back door that I respect your bold decision. This is
Thank
something
you.
I end up doing as well. Moving back home is always on the agenda. My husband and I talk about it every time. So they wouldn't be surprised if they see me vlogging from Ghana markets and Ghana streets that I'm back home as well. I'm glad you came on
Thank
this
you.
channel. It's rather
Thank you.
unfortunate that our sound was not great, our picture was not great, and I'm definitely going to bring you back to come and
Thank you.
share how it's going so far. You take us around, tell us a little bit more about Kenya. We need to know about Kenya. I wish you all
Sure.
the best in your process and any regrets going to Australia.
Any regrets going to Australia? No, I feel like like you said, when you know your path and you follow your path and God shines the light, I honestly think, and I thank Australia. I love the country too. It's my second home now. I have zero regrets. God has used Australia to get me to where I needed to be. The studies, the work. I feel like it was a very pivotal position for me to even be able to come back to say that I'm retiring at 30. I wanted to. I have these things were written. I wrote these things when I was like 22. So it's not something I'm just making up. If you ask me for my diaries, I'll show you where I wrote these things before I even went to Australia. I knew what I wanted. But for God to use Australia to ground me and to give me the financial, peace and stability that I need to be able to be now in Kenya, is something I will never forget, and it's something I'm forever grateful. So I have zero regrets. Even coming to Kenya so far, this is I've finished 1 year in Kenya. Gosh, I keep saying Australia. I'm still not used to being in Kenya. Sorry, guys. So it's been 1 year since I came back to Kenya, and I have no regrets. I love it. Do I miss Australia? Yes. Not a lot. In another phase, Australia is going to serve another purpose. So I enjoy where I'm at the moment, and I love Australia for that, and I love Kenya for this part too, and where I was born, and I love the richness of my culture. Now I have double culture, of course, but I love Kenyan culture more. Don't
Yes.
kill me, Australia.
No, Kenyan culture is rich. We all know that. I see your beautiful earrings. I love it. So, last
Thank you.
question. Is your husband in Kenya? Did he move back to Kenya with
Yeah, my husband is Kenya. I feel like calling him to say, like, hi, baby, come. He's actually in the living room. I can hear him with my children because the way we were living in Australia is the same way we're living in Kenya. We don't have a house help. We are able to manage ourselves, our family, just the two of us. So right now I'm here doing this video with you. My husband is actually sitting the children. I can hear them. They just woke up. He's going to give them a snack. And then when I finish, I'm join them. Hence why I was telling you I can't do this video after 4 because now I'm going to go and fix dinner for my family.
Wow. Thank you very much for your time. We'll have Gifted Mercy back. If you haven't subscribed to her channel, please do. How is your channel doing? Are you still vlogging, YouTubing, or is he on hold?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Priscilla, for asking that. So I am right now, my channel is still active. There's still content, lots of it when it comes to being in Australia and stuff. The last 1 year, and sorry to my audience, I haven't been able to vlog as much, like to tell you content based on Australia or even my personal life. I am that person. I realize that I like to tell people things that I have achieved, not to brag, but to inspire them. I don't like to tell the story when I'm in between. Like, I don't want to tell you about building my home when I'm in between, because then you ask me some questions I won't have an answer, and I feel like you're putting pressure on me. Like, you do not know that, but that's how I feel. So that's why this year has been very quiet on my channel. But I have been doing a lot of collabos. This is my third collabo with other YouTubers, which also now helps to keep the channel up, because this video is gonna be there on YouTube and people are going to watch it. They come to my channel, I welcome them. Thank you guys. If you come from Kuma family, you're welcome on to join my channel too. My audience are going to watch this video. Please subscribe to Priscilla Kuma's channel as well. Let's support our sister, and yeah, we're going to all be blessed.
Yeah, thank you. Amen. Thank you, Gifted Mercy. I have a lot of respect for you. I'm proud of your journey. I'm proud of your decision. And have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. And I can't wait to have you also on my channel. Like, I need to hear your story, because today was more of mercy, 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 mercy. I can't wait to organize another collab with you, Priscilla, for my audience and for everyone. You're now an international brand, when you're out there. Even though we don't feel like that, I feel like we have gone. People will ask you questions from many countries. Like, I have people from Pakistan and wherever. I have never seen them, but that's how we connect, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We are
Yeah.
changing lives, we are impacting lives, but we don't know what you're doing. But we are changing lives, so we can't give up.
Yeah. So thank you so much for hosting. And I pray that every desire that you have, your work, I know I haven't really, really gotten to hear about you, but trust me, I'm really aching. I want to hear about you in the next, video that we do.
I'll be glad.
God bless the work of your hands and bless your audience. And I hope we at least give some information that is going to inspire someone and make a difference in their life. That is why we do this. That's why I personally do this. Otherwise, I could be doing something else. It's not about the money or whatever. It's just to make a difference on this planet.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.